And I hate when that happens. Alright. Testing the audio, testing the audio. Prepare to solve the problem. Just turn off, pulling mics out, putting it back in. Alright.
Okay, ready? And can you mute the phone so I'm not hearing you?
Alright. We're going to you in 3, 2, 1.
Welcome to The Habit Influencer. I'm TJ Walker. We are live today. It is Tuesday, January 28th, 2020. This is the one place in the entire internet where people can come together on a daily basis, have a live exchange, and really talk about the latest up-to-date information, insight, tips on how to build good habits, how to develop the habits you need to sustain the life you want. There's a lot of great blogs, books, online courses. I've got some online courses on habit development, but this is a little bit different here. This is a live interchange. You get to put your ideas out, your questions, your comments. It's all done in live time, and that's what's different about it. I'm TJ Walker, and for more than 30 years, I've been in the personal development realm, coaching clients, customers all over the globe for things like public speaking training, media training, personal development skills. And now I am happy to bring a lot of the same insights and techniques that I've used working one-on-one in small groups with people in corporate setting, government settings, to this online environment. So it's a lot of fun. It's exciting. I'm glad you're here. Special hello to our friends on TikTok, Facebook, YouTube, Snapchat, and all the other places we are on, coming up on about 20 different live platforms around the globe. So we're trying to be open-minded and not really partial to any one format. As much as I love YouTube, I've lost a whole channel there before. As much as I love Facebook, you can be blocked for 3 days. I don't want to be blocked. I don't want there to be a block between me and you and our conversation. So that's why we try to be open-minded and sort of open to all different platforms out there. If you have a platform that you like for live streaming, please let us know. Send me a note, the Facebook page. You can always drop me a line, tj@tjwalker.com, or in the chat sessions going on any of these platforms. If I miss it, my colleague Marceau, who's with us today, will be able to see that as well. A lot of top stories in the news today relating to topics. We'll be going over those. We'll be looking at some provocative thought pieces on habits. Some relate to, do you really need new habits or do you need a new job? Sometimes it's a little confusing. Habits that will help you create more luck. I've got some specific planned pieces for you as well, including figuring out how you can build the habit of experimenting on yourself to find solutions. And I'm not talking about a lot of drugs and the mad scientist who drinks the potion for a cure. Nothing dangerous. But I am talking about this habit of experimenting with yourself. That'll be in topic A. Topic B, are you failing enough to succeed? So many people in our culture are taught, get the straight A's, play it safe, get into the good college, check the right box, and they're not learning to fail often enough. That will be our deep dive in segment B, topic B today. Also in topic C, the problem with something you've heard about a lot in the last few years, 5 meals a day. A lot of experts say it is the healthiest way to eat. It may be, but from a pure habit formulation perspective, is it a good thing to even start? You may want to weigh in on that and let us know if it's helped you weigh in any less or more on the scale after going on a diet like that. I'd love to hear from you. So as always, we'll be taking your calls. If you want to call us through Facebook, posting a video, an audio, a text on any platform whatsoever, you can tweet us. You can also post your comments in a text format on any platform and just write to me. You can always write me an email, tj@tjwalker.com. In fact, before I really hop in with some of the top news of the day, I will take a question from one of my online students. In this show every day, we take questions from you live, but also a number of my students who are in my online habits building courses, personal development courses, and communication skills courses write specific questions to me. This one came in earlier today, and this person is in my complete creativity course. This student says, how to be creative on work life, and how can the tool of creativity be useful in your work life? And this is from Ben, that's kind of the subject of the entire course, how to be more creative in your work life, but really every aspect of life. The short answer to this question is, if you want a really successful career, you need to be creative. You might be completely uncreative and be someone who is a bureaucrat or is someone who just fills out forms the right way. There's certain types of corporate law, I guess, where you're just so encyclopedic in your knowledge of laws, you're not particularly creative, and you're still successful, although the best lawyers I know of are highly creative. It's possible to be creative or to be uncreative and be successful in a career. But when you think of the most successful people in their careers, Edison, all of his inventions, the light bulb, Henry Ford, he didn't invent the automobile, but he certainly invented the mass-produced factory assembly line to make automobiles faster more quickly. He did invent that. Steve Jobs didn't invent the MP3 player or cell phones, but he perfected them. He packaged them. He designed them in ways that it completely took over the world as we know it. So creativity you can find in absolutely any industry, any business, any career whatsoever at the highest level. So if you are interested in more creativity, you may in fact want to check out that course, and that is on my Udemy platform and many others as well. If you are a student of mine, remember, you go to the head of the line with a question. So if you have a question about anything to do with one of your courses, anything you're grappling with, you can always post your comments here, and rather than have me type a response to you, you'll hear me explain it and talk it out here in real time. So let's check in. We've got folks joining us on YouTube today, Facebook. By the way, if you are on YouTube and Facebook, if you could do me a little favor, we are experimenting with some new audio-visual production techniques. One of those is something called reverb, where it vibrates your voice a little bit and kind of makes it sound like you're in a bigger room with thousands of people listening. So I would ask you if you could watch one of my videos on YouTube or Facebook of the last couple of days, and we may play one here in the second segment of the show too. I want to get your feedback on whether you like this effect, if you find it more engaging, or if you find it a little distracting. There's no right or wrong answer. I do want to hear from you. And as we mentioned yesterday, I'm trying some new background music. And Marceau, do we have our background music on today? I assume so.
We do.
So we'd love to know if you think the music is distracting. Now, I asked the question yesterday. I didn't hear anyone say it was distracting. So I'm going to take that as good news and a sign that we are not overwhelming what I say with distracting background noise. The music is there in part because I want you to feel good when you come to this show. I want you to feel good when you're participating in this forum. And music is a way that can sort of instantly change moods. So that's why it's here. It's not to win editing awards. It's not to win production Emmy. It's to make you feel better and make this a more enjoyable experience. What I have found, what so many researchers have found in the habit space, is the more you feel good, the easier it is to accomplish things, to fulfill the habits you want to fulfill in life, to be productive, to eat that frog, to use the expression that Mark Twain first used and Brian Tracy popularized with his book, to do hard tasks because you're feeling good. If you're feeling down or bad or bland or bored, it's much harder to start with difficult tasks. Let's check in. We have a comment on YouTube. Matt's Food Insider says music is not distracting. Okay, great. So that's one threshold. The next threshold is it actually adding something? Do you prefer having the music on as background, or would you rather it just go without any sound at all? Certainly most news shows, most talk shows, Oprah, Ellen, Chris Matthews, Sean Hannity, being across the spectrum here, they don't have music in the background. So Matt, that would be my question for you and anyone else watching. Does having the music on actually enhance the experience for you? Because that's what we're trying to do here. Because I don't hear the music. It's not for me. It is for you. So that's what it's all about. So we'll be taking your thoughts on that throughout the rest of today, and for that matter, the rest of the week. Let's hop right in with the big story of the day that I have prepared. This isn't something from the headlines. It's just something I've given a lot of thought to, and I want to go a little deeper into a subject matter about habits and explore that. But before we do, let's check in with our friends on TikTok as well as Instagram. Anna Camara is with us, Fortune Tribes, glad to see you, as always.
Also Uplive. Uplive's one of our new ones.
And
ABC with the X's.
And Uplive is one of our new platforms. Marceau, that is a streaming platform, I assume?
Yes.
Okay, so Uplive is a streaming platform. I don't know how new it is, but it's new to me, and we've just started broadcasting the show on Uplive as well. And we have, is that ABC is joining us from Uplive? Is that
ABC **XX. I have no idea what that is.
great? Well, ABC, we're glad to have you with us today. Appreciate getting new viewers and community members from the Uplive network. Hayden 8980 is joining us from Instagram as well today. So thanks to all of our old friends, and I say old, we've been doing this show really regularly. This is just the fourth week. We are in our maiden month here. So happy for the people who've been with us since the beginning, and very happy to have new folks joining us all the time too. Marceau, did you just flash up a comment from Instagram, or did I?
No, that was an accident.
Okay, it was behind the curve there. So let's dive in, and periodically, for those of you new to the show, I'll do a deep dive on a subject for 8-9 minutes. It will be a bit of a monologue. If you're posting comments, questions, thoughts, we are watching. We're going to get to you. I will not ignore you, but I will sort of go straight through a prepared segment, and then we'll open the floor up to discussion, and we can go into more detail on that. Topic A. Are you in the habit of experimenting on yourself for solutions to give you a more fulfilling life? You are the biggest expert in the world on you. You are unique. You are different from other people. I'm different. And yes, on the one hand, we're all the same. All human beings are the same in that they don't really operate well if you give them nothing but junk food, sugar, candy, and soda pop all day long. That's kind of a universal. But beyond that, there's many, many things that are different about you, that make you tick, that make you more productive, that make you happier, that make you feel better. And it is up to you, I believe, to constantly experiment. Now, I experiment on myself on a regular basis. Unlike Tim Ferriss, whom I have a lot of respect for, and a lot of other personal development experts, I'm not on the more wildly adventurous side. I'm not dropping acid, okay? That makes me an old fuddy-duddy, so be it. I'm not jumping out of airplanes and doing cryogenics and things like that. But I do believe in experimenting to figure out, how can I do things better? How can I make myself healthier? How can I feel better every day so I can live life more fully? I happen to be someone who was lucky enough throughout almost my entire life to get a good night's sleep. I could always fall asleep quickly, get a good night's sleep, and wake up fully rested. Never had any problems as a child, teenager, somebody in my 20s, 30s, or even 40s. But you hit the 5-0, the big 5-0, 50 years of age, things do change. You can no longer sleep late. It's much, much easier. And I say you, I do speak for a lot of people my age and older, not everyone. It gets a lot harder to get a good night's sleep. So that's why you see on pop culture and movies and TV shows, the old person saying, oh yeah, it's so late, I gotta go home and go to bed, and it's 7:30 at night. And that's why they make fun of the senior citizens in Florida eating the early bird specials at 4:30 in the afternoon because they're going to sleep at 8 o'clock sometimes. So yes, some stereotypes and caricatures are unfair. Some are based on reality. And one reality is, for many people, myself included, it gets harder to sleep. So I've gone through a whole series of tests to help me sleep. Now, I still, to this day, have an easy time falling asleep. About half a dozen years or so, I found it much harder to sleep as long as I wanted. I would wake up too early. That's a type of insomnia. When you wake up earlier than you need before you are fully rested, before you get your 8 hours of sleep. I am completely normal, much as everyone likes to think they're superior and better and have great physical powers. I'm completely average when it comes to my sleep needs. I need 8 hours of sleep to really feel rested. And what I found out half a dozen years ago or so is if I woke up, it was harder to fall back asleep. If I did something out of the ordinary, had a couple extra glasses of water, glasses of wine late, that would wake me up. A big meal late at night, harder to fall asleep. More sensitive to noises. So what I did is I constantly experimented. First, I did things like get earplugs. I now have a pair of earplugs I really like sleeping with. It just minimizes distractions, minimizes the chances of getting woken up in the middle of the night and not being able to fall back asleep. Everybody is light sensitive to a certain degree. I sleep with a sleep mask on to block out lights. I have blackout shades in my bedroom. All of these things did help some. They were all little pieces of the puzzle. I sleep with a white noise machine on in my room. That way, if there's a squirrel on the roof, or we have these giant walnut trees and walnuts fall on our flat roof, very noisy. It sounds like a bowling ball is falling on the roof. I don't hear that now because I use a white noise machine. I try to exercise every single day, in part because I want to exercise and be healthy, but also because I've been led to believe from research you sleep better if you are fully exercised, and I do believe that's true. So I'm experimenting with exercising in different ways. I've also experimented with things like not drinking any liquids at all past 7 p.m. And I'm pretty rigorous about following that. That helps a lot by being able to sleep longer, not having to get up in the middle of the night, sort of thing. All of these things add up, but what I found, even a couple of months ago, is still quite often I could wake up at, say, 3:30 in the morning, 4 in the morning, and not be able to get back to sleep. Now, I could get up, I could read books about habits and do research for you and make online courses and read other books. And it was a nice quiet use of time, productive use of time. But I'd much rather have a great 8 hours of sleep. Now, certainly something I did going back several years was follow all the protocol, all the habits for what most sleeping experts say you should do, which is don't look at any cell phones an hour before you go to sleep. Don't look at any screen, any TV an hour before you go to sleep. Have a set routine of reading paper, a book, not an iPad, not even a Kindle, nothing electronic, reading paper 1 hour before going to bed. Those things help a lot, because in the past there would be times I might get an email, I'm just about to go to sleep, I get an email and some client in Asia is upset about something and I've got to think about how to respond to them. That can mess up your sleep. I don't do that anymore because I shut the phone down. It's not that I don't look at it. I will turn it off and it's in another room. It doesn't get into my bedroom. I go to my bedroom an hour before I plan on sleeping so that I can read, typically. So all of these things helped a little, but still, 1-2 nights a week, often I would still wake up way too early. And then you are tired the rest of the day. When you're tired, you're not as productive. You're not as energetic. You're not biting into the things you really need to do. So I continue to experiment. And just in the last 10 days or so, I've been experimenting with, it sounds a bit ridiculous and pretentious, but I'll go ahead and say it, hot tub therapy. For 10 to 15 minutes a day, I get in a giant hot tub and I turn the bubbles on full blast. I turn the heat on to full blast. Typically, I don't like a hot tub more than 98 degrees. But I turn it up to 104. Now, I'm not in for more than typically 14 minutes. And that way, it's almost like a workout. It's like a massage. The bubbles are going, the heat is going. I have no music on, no distractions whatsoever. And I don't particularly even enjoy that. But what I like is I feel so relaxed after the fact. And what I've noticed in the last 10 days or so that I've been doing this particular therapy, I've had virtually a perfect night's sleep every single night. Still early, it could be correlation and not causation. You have to be careful of that anytime you're trying some new remedy, some new solution, some way of making you feel better. But it doesn't cost me anything. It's certainly not dangerous because I'm not staying in too long. And it's not putting a pill in my body or anything artificial like that. So I continue to experiment. And now I've been getting a great night's sleep. Even though I had followed all the other tips and I'd read other books on how to get great sleep. And I followed all the standard blog tips on how to get a good night's sleep. Still, I wasn't there 1 to 2 nights every single week. By continuing to experiment, I found something that works for me. Now, you might try getting into a hot tub, and you might not sleep for 2 days. So I'm not a doctor. I'm not recommending hot tub therapy. I'm not a spokesperson for the jacuzzi company. It may be horrible for everyone else in the world but me. All I can tell you is I've been experimenting and it works for me. My challenge to you is, where are you experimenting? Where are you trying to improve some specific element of your health, your productivity, your creativity, your financial health, your relationships? What is it you are experimenting with? This whole life is an experiment. Too many people are guilty of just staying in a rut. If you don't get a good night's sleep, just telling yourself, I'm not a good sleeper. You don't have a good career, you're not getting an advancement, you tell yourself, I'm not a career person. And just doing the same thing. I urge you, don't try anything dangerous. But the most dangerous thing for many of us is doing exactly the same thing over and over again, dissatisfied with the results. Now, the classic definition of insanity, which Albert Einstein did not say, but everyone says he says, is the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting different results. Even though Einstein didn't say it, there is a kernel of truth there. If you're unhappy with your sleep, unhappy with your health, with your body size, with your career, then try something different. Experiment, please. Don't just be complacent and continue as if you had no freedom. You have the freedom to experiment, to try and get things better and better and better. It's the only life you have. You might as well tweak it until you get it just right. I'm TJ Walker. Thanks for joining me today. This is the Habit Influencer. And Marceau, you are keeping track of my time, right? Periodically you'll hear me make some production notes with Marceau because we do use segments of this show for our produced videos. We have typically one 7 to 10 minute produced video that goes on YouTube, LinkedIn, Facebook, and a few other sites. So, Marceau, did you catch my time on that?
Well, by the time I was going to put it up, you're pretty much wrapping up anyway. So.
Okay, it seemed like I was going longer. So, let's check in. Let's check in with some of our friends on Facebook. Seaful has written in, that's a great idea to play background music. I like it, and sound quality is good or better than before. I also use UpLive. Oh, UpLive is a live platform, I guess. Marceau, is that one of the platforms we're on, UpLive?
Yep.
Okay, great. And so I do appreciate the feedback on the music. This is music that we commissioned specifically for this show, so you shouldn't be hearing it elsewhere. It shouldn't remind you of a bank commercial and you don't like the bank or anything like that. And we have 3 or 4 more music pieces that are being commissioned and composed right now. So we should have those for you perhaps by the end of the week. Marceau, what was that?
No, that was the background.
Okay. And Ari writes in to TJ, love the format, looks great. Well, thanks, I do appreciate that. We are continuing to experiment. We want to keep this backdrop. Now, this is my living room. I can't quickly get a new living room, but this is a video clip of my living room. I'm actually in a studio 1 floor below that. We're also experimenting with the graphics. I'm not particularly a graphic-oriented person, so if you have a better thought on what you think my name should be, what font, anything like that, let us know. We're open to that. Let's hop over to YouTube. Matt says, it is relaxing. Good. Well, we want you to be relaxed. Just don't fall asleep. You like the CM writes, I like the background music, Mr. Walker, and thanks. And you can just call me TJ. Matt says, Brian Tracy has a great book about having healthy habits and disciplines. This topic is very important to people in life. And I agree. Brian Tracy is one of the true greats of the personal development industry. I had referenced him earlier with his book, Eat That Frog, which is a classic, where he talks about take the hardest thing you have to do in any day, do it first. The rest of your day will be easy. What I like about Brian Tracy is he simplifies the most complex areas of life, breaks it down, explains things simply, breaks it down step by step. Anyone can follow it. He's not trying to show off fancy words and erudition and complexity. He is really breaking things down in the simplest way. So if you have a chance, pick up almost any Brian Tracy book or audio album. He has probably north of 100 between his books and audio albums. Now, I'm sorry, Matt brought up an important part. Did you stop drinking coffee? I was speaking about my own issues of not getting as good a night's sleep as possible. Certainly there was a time, and I'm not a huge coffee fan, but just out of a habit, there's that word, would sometimes drink 4, 5, 6, 7 cups of coffee. It never had an impact on me falling asleep. But then I read some research saying that if you have coffee, it might still wake you up at 3 in the morning, even though you get to sleep. So I did, about a year ago, cut back my coffee intake to just 1 cup in the morning. Virtually every expert on sleep says if you have 1 cup in the morning, that really should have 0 negative implications on your sleep pattern. So I have not felt the need to try to go all the way to 0 or to switch to decaf, but I have stuck with 1. And part of it is I used to drink my coffee with a lot of cream and sugar. Now I have no sugar in my coffee, which makes me feel a lot better. And maybe just a little milk and cream and limiting it to 1 per day. So that's another technique I tried to sleep better. And it helped some, but it didn't put me over the edge to getting that 8 great hours of sleep every night as I have for the last nearly 2 weeks with this hot tub therapy. And again, I don't want to be like a lot of personal development gurus who get some gimmick of an electric clicker or pyramids and they start hawking it to you. I'm not trying to sell you a hot tub, I promise you. It might be the worst thing ever for your sleep. The only thing I want to stress is to experiment. Keep trying new things for you, that work for you, that make you feel better, your body feel better, better sleep, better thought, better creativity. That's what I'm after. Let's see, and we have a few more comments. So Matt, I did answer your question about the coffee. Robert Scott writes in, since I passed 50, my sleep habit is to nap whenever, wherever, like a baby. Same with eating. No fixed schedule for when I eat except for breakfast. Well, Robert, if that works for you, fantastic. What happens to me, and I understand this is quite common, if I take a nap, that upsets my sleep patterns and it can be very difficult getting to sleep that night. So I try not to nap for that very reason. Different people are different ways. Winston Churchill famously slept pretty much all afternoon, every afternoon. Even when there is a World War II going on, Winston Churchill would take these lengthy naps. And then drink massive amounts of champagne and everything else in the evening, and then quite often work from midnight to 5 a.m. and composing books and speeches and everything else. So there's no one way that works. For most people, myself included, to even have 10% of the alcohol Winston Churchill was alleged to drink, I would be completely unproductive in the day. Other people, it doesn't slow them down. The writer Christopher Hitchens, well-known political journalist in the United States, passed away several years ago from, I guess, lung cancer, smoking, but he was notorious for drinking massive quantities of alcohol every day, every night, and yet he produced beautiful works of literature, polemics, documentaries, highly prolific individual. So again, I'm not advocating you drink like a fish. I just point out that different people work in different ways, and you've got to experiment to see what works for you. Let's check in on Facebook. Fan writes, why can't we use Kindle for reading before sleeping? I see no distractions from it. So if it's not distracting you and you're getting a good night's sleep, then use it. Absolutely use it. Kindle means different things to different people. There's the actual Kindle machines that has this, I guess, patented process they call digital paper, where it's not the regular light from a cell phone screen. So it is supposed to be less distracting to your brain. So if you're using that, I certainly think that's better than paper. There's still, depending on your, and I've had many Kindles, but I haven't used any in the last 5 years, so forgive me for being out of date, but I've had about 5 Kindles. It's still a temptation, because if you have your Kindle, you can easily sort of, I get the New York Times on my Kindle, I get these other, it's all right there. All this information is at your fingertips. Plus, you can see how many people highlighted this part, and this could be useful information. But it's just not quite as relaxing as if you're just in a linear way going through one word at a time on a paper book. And, that's a nice looking book right there, isn't it? So if it works for you, continue. But what I have found, a consensus among people who really try to help people with their habits on sleeping, is the gold standard is read a paper book an hour before bed. And really the best way of doing it is to not be reading in your bed, to read someplace else, and to go to your bed only when you are ready to sleep, to keep it pristine in that environment and to condition your mind to associate being in bed with sleeping. So that's probably the last thing I can think of that I probably could do to change that I'm not doing based on what the consensus best practices is. Because I do still read in bed, and I probably shouldn't do that. So if this hot tub therapy doesn't work out for me, that will be the next thing. So thanks very much for your contribution there. Muhammad writes, experimenting is part of and Muhammad Epson, glad you're here with us today. Appreciate your participation as always. Experimenting is part of the success formula. But this is X that we need to find, that how much experimenting we should do as a journey, or sometimes when we must experience. I'm not sure I quite got that. I think you're saying we have to figure out how much we should do that to really enjoy the experience versus are we testing along as we go. Amid to all this is something we must consider when solutions are either not available or lack diversity to solve a certain situation. Well, I've experimented many times in my life. Let me share with you an example. And it was one of my biggest experiments when I have to experiment in a new country that has a difficult culture in regard to modern marketing techniques. But the entry was easy, and I did my experiment there with proper strategy, i.e. positioning. The story is long, but I cut it short then. The experiment was a success. You look at any successful marketer, and it's never that they just instantly have brilliant marketing campaigns coming out of their brain. It's never the first slogan that comes out. It's testing. A/B testing is the classic of marketing. You just keep A/B testing. You try this versus this, whichever one works better. You keep that, you get rid of the one that doesn't work. Marketers do it all the time. Unfortunately, too many of us don't do it in our real life. That's essentially what I'm trying to do with sleep, is I'm constantly testing. Something works better than before, I keep it. Then I test it with something else. And I'm trying to get to the point where I evolve to 8 hours of great sleep, waking fully rested every single morning. That's really my goal. And did I comment on everything that Muhammad wrote? I felt like I missed the last comment on his post. Okay, great. Well, I appreciate any feedback you have. And please, don't be afraid to put out some criticism. I want to thank all of you, those of you who have been with us for the show for the last month. It's amazing how positive this community is and how positive people are for looking for new information, communities where people can really trade information, insights on how to build new habits and better habits. But remember, what's that, Marcel?
One more on YouTube for Robert.
Okay, I'll come to Robert in just 1 minute. But I do want you to realize, part of good communication isn't just praise, and I love praise, everybody loves praise, but part of it is delivering thoughtful feedback and criticism. So I do want to hear from you when you see graphics you might not like, background you're tired of, music that's wearing out. When you see things, you hear things that don't draw you in, we do want to hear from you. I can't guarantee we'll always change everything instantly, but I can guarantee you that I will listen to you and I will give due consideration to every piece of feedback here on the program. Let's check in with Robert. Robert says, do you want to mention? I want to mention I've been doing a vlog 2 times a week on YouTube for 3 months now. And watching and editing myself has taught me more about my public speaking habits, good and bad, than any class I've taken. You were an inspiration to do this, by the way. Well, Robert, thanks a lot. That definitely warms my heart. Anytime I hear someone has gone from thinking about public speaking to actually speaking every single day, or in your case, twice a week, it makes me feel like I've had a positive impact in the world, because that's ultimately the best way to speak. And Robert, only if you want to, but feel free to post the link to your channel. I would love to even perhaps play 30 seconds of your channel, give you some extra exposure if you want it. You may not want to mix audiences that way. Or if you would like, just give us the name of your channel, and some of our community here, some of our friends can check that out, whether they're coming over from TikTok or Instagram or Snapchat or any place else. So feel free to share that with us and the community. Let's check in with a few of our other friends who've joined us. Sai has joined us. Sai, good to hear from you and checking with us from southern India today. Hadis Laurenti is joining us from Instagram as well. Plus FK Harshani is with us live. Hadis Larensky PMU is with us, and several others from both TikTok as well as Instagram. Very, very happy to have you with us today in the first hour of our live program on Tuesday, January 28th, 2020. There's someone I've mentioned to you before who, speaking of marketing, one of our commenters earlier, he's probably the most famous marketing guru in the United States today by the name of Seth Godin. And he is a prolific blogger. And by prolific, I don't mean he writes 5,000 words a day, but he does write literally every single day. And he is one of the blogs I do like to check out regularly because he so often has insights. He's also, I find, very motivational in the sense that you see him distill a subject, and it's often so simple. He puts clarity on the subject, and often it's 30 words. Sometimes it's 40 words. So you can look at his blog post and think, wow, that is interesting. Made me think. I learned something, but also it makes you think, well, it couldn't have taken him that long to do that. I should be doing that. I should be blogging. I think it's fine to be competitive in this world. When you see someone do something you like, to then have that motivate you to want to do something as well. Here is Seth's blog post today. Luck on Demand. And by the way, if you want to check it out for yourself, I've provided a link to it in the show notes, which you can see on the YouTube channel now and on the Facebook as long as this is live. Luck on demand, alas, not an option. Luck over time is inevitable, though. If you show up with good work and generous action again and again, sooner or later, something that appears to others to be luck will appear. Because luck over time is a symptom of productive contributions. It rarely happens when you need it most. It almost never happens in equal proportion to what feels fair for you or others, but it happens. The trap is hoping that a short-term focus on luck on demand will pay off instead. Again, is this the most brilliant thing in the world? No, but it does make you think. There is some insight there. I happen to agree with him that luck does happen. There's a lot of old cliches like this. The harder I work, the luckier I get is kind of a quick soundbite version of what he just said there. Yes, there are some people in the world who are just born lucky. They're born wealthy. Things fall in their lap. I was with a friend one time at a New York Knicks game with another friend, and out of the entire stadium or the entire Coliseum, one person in one seat got to all paid trip expense to Italy. Who wouldn't like that? Sure enough, it's my friend. He reaches under his seat. He wins the 2 seat. It just so happens he's so fabulously wealthy, he could travel anywhere in the world anytime he wanted. It meant nothing to him. You can say, okay, that's not fair. Certain things will happen disproportionately. Good luck to some people. But I do agree with Seth that if you have enough good habits and you align them in a certain way, and you use those habits to create a productive life, things are going to happen to you that other people will just think is luck. Gary Vaynerchuk, the well-known social media maven, has famously talked about this. He goes to his high school reunion, or he bumps into friends from high school, and they say, "Oh, Gary, you're so lucky. I see that you own a big chunk of Facebook, and you got this big agency, and you're on TV all the time, and that's great, Gary, you're so lucky." And Gary gets a bit upset when people say this. He says, "I'm not lucky. I worked hard every single weekend. Every single time when all of you are out partying and chasing people and out for the beach and drinking and partying, I was working every single weekend in high school and college." He basically says he didn't take a single day off his entire 20s. So in his view, his hard work got him to where he is. And I do think he is a hard worker. It wasn't luck. Now, because he worked so hard for so many years and listened to customers, first his customers in the baseball card trading world, and then his customers in the liquor world, and then his customers in the wine world, and then his customers on social, by listening to his customers and trying to give and give and give, and to work till 2 in the morning, he created his own luck. On the one hand, that's very inspirational. On the other hand, I don't know about you, I'm not as hardworking as Gary Vaynerchuk. It's fun and exciting to hear people talk about live your dreams, become rich and famous, you can be anything, and work till 1 in the morning and get up at 4 a.m. That's the part that people say, "Oh, wait a minute, that's maybe too much." I want a little more of a well-rounded life. I want relaxation. I want family time. I want fun. I want time to read and reflect. So his lifestyle works for him, not criticizing it in any way, but it's not exactly the model for me. But many people would look at me and say, "Well, gosh, TJ, you're really lucky. You have a lot of nice things, good health, happiness, a career that most people would die for because it's just fun and interesting and you get to see the whole world." And yes, I have been lucky. I've been lucky in a lot of different ways. I don't want to make it sound like, "Oh, I just deserve everything because I'm such a hard worker." But I can tell you, and I think I can say this without sounding arrogant, there are a lot of people who had just as many lucky things happen to them as me, who are not as happy in their life. They may be richer, but they're not as happy in their life as I am, because they didn't do the things they needed to do on a regular basis to position them for good luck. I have the great joy of waking up in the morning and seeing dozens and dozens of letters coming into me, emails from really happy students from dozens of countries around the world, saying how I help them get jobs, help them improve their lives. And every single day I wake up and there's hundreds, sometimes 1,000 new courses of mine have been bought since the day before. Someone can look at that and say, "Oh, TJ, you're so lucky. Life is easy. Cushy. Just wake up and make money." And what people don't realize is I make money from online courses today and yesterday and last week and last year and the year before, but from 1998 until about 2017, I lost money in online courses. So I lost money for about 20 years with online courses before it really took off. So, am I lucky? Yes. Did I make my own luck in part by experimenting? A lot of different types of courses, a lot of different platforms. Through perseverance? Yes, they all come together. I'm TJ Walker. I really want to appreciate you for joining me today. We've got a lot of other interesting subjects and topics, news stories to go through today that I want to share with you. Plus, we'll be taking your comments, questions today. We talked about weight just a moment ago and health and body issues. I certainly don't want to seem like someone who is obsessed with weight, but I did see something that just really jumped out at me as almost bizarre, and it's the headline of a podcast And the headline, the title of the podcast is, Does Losing Weight Make You a Bad Feminist? I'll provide a link to anyone who wants it. All you have to do is ask for it. Let's unpack this a little. Certainly there is a school of thought, and I agree with this in huge portions, that for so many years, society told women, if you're not thin, beautiful, look like Barbie, you're worthless and nobody wants you. And that was a horrible message to send to people, that you have to be super slim. It caused a lot of anorexia, eating disorders. And so there became an inevitable, justifiable backlash. No, we don't have to look like Barbie. I agree with anyone who says that. And it made a lot of sense in the 60s because you had Twiggy as a role model, and she was like a twig. The 70s, you had so many super slim fashion models covering on the covers of Glamour and fashion magazines throughout. And for the most part, most women and men across the world were healthy body weight or occasionally too thin, especially if they didn't have enough food to eat. So it was a real issue and a real problem with society sending a message, you must be super thin, super thin, super thin. But times change. Problems change. Contexts change. People weren't worried about global warming 50 years ago. They are today. Today there's also a new problem, and it's killing people a lot faster than global warming is. And I'm not knocking global warming as a global threat. But the problem we face today is obesity. Since 1980, obesity has exploded throughout the globe. Diabetes is off the chart. Depending on which health organization's data you choose to rely on, 2 to 4 million or more people per year die. More people are dying around the globe from donuts and sugar and coke than from wars, than from bullets. So this is a crisis. So the idea that you might want to not die, not have diabetes, not have a heart attack, not reduce your life expectancy by 10 years because you actually want to be a proper weight, the idea that that would be anti-feminist or anti-anything good strikes me as utterly bizarre. What do you think? I'd like to hear from you. Are you automatically a bad feminist or a bad person or a bad humanist to want to be what the medical community says is roughly your proper weight? And I don't mean because of aesthetics or because you need to look sexy to someone else. I mean what feels best for your body and is best for your health. If you go to small villages in Okinawa and you see 95-year-old people who are living very active lives and walking to market every day and fishing every day and living vital lives, playing with their children and grandchildren and great-grandchildren, it's not because they are trying to look good to Anna Wintour and fashion designers based in Manhattan. They look good and feel good and are living vigorous lives because they have habits of eating healthy amounts of food and healthy, real food. They eat real fish. They may eat rice, but it's real rice and it's not processed with lots and lots of sugar and lots of processed carbohydrates. And if they eat meat, it's not 18-ounce steaks and porterhouses. It's tiny, tiny pieces. And they weigh the proper amount. You can go to the blue zones around the world, whether it's Sardinia, whether it's Okinawa, all sorts of places around the world where people live on average to their 90s or so. They're not obese. I'm sorry if that's politically incorrect to say, but it is true. So I'm a little bit troubled by this notion that somehow one is betraying the cause for women or anyone else by wanting to lose weight if you are in fact overweight. I'm not endorsing fat shaming. I'm not mentioning anyone by name. But just as an individual, for yourself, when you look at yourself in the mirror and you're not wearing clothes, are you happy with what you see? Are you winded walking up steps? Is your doctor telling you you are now pre-diabetic? These are problems. And these are not problems about being attracted to others. These are problems about you living the most meaningful life, happiest life, healthiest life you can live. And that's what we're after here. I don't want you to worry about being attractive to anyone else that you don't want to be attracted to. I want you to be attracted to yourself and to have the self, to have your body, to have the health habits you need to live a long, healthy, disease-free life. That's really the goal of our eating habits, our exercise habits, and everything else. Cy writes in, hi, sir. With your inspiration, I got a full-time job offer as a trainer. Thanksgiving, sir. Oh, Cy, that's wonderful news, and I hope you have fantastic luck in your career as a trainer. I've been in the training business for most of my adult life, and I can tell you, I personally find it a rewarding career because you're helping other people and you're empowering them not just today for one little problem, but you're giving them skills to help them lead more fulfilled lives the rest of their life. So I love training, and the advantage you have, Cy, that I didn't have when I started out now is you can be creating content every day. You can be writing books every day, blog posts. You can be doing your own YouTube videos, your own podcast right now. You're 23. When I was 23, I had to knock on doors, mail cassette tapes to radio stations trying to get airtime, mail manuscripts to publishers, rejection, 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 rejection. Years and years and years of dealing with gatekeepers. Today as a trainer, or for that matter as a consultant, or almost any other field of expertise, the only gatekeeper is you. Your own persistence, your own creativity, your own work ethic. You are your own gatekeeper. Right now, there's going to be a gate up for just 2 minutes. We're going to take a short break. I'm TJ Walker. We're coming back at 3 past the hour, hour 2 of The Habit Influencer. I'm TJ Walker. Join me. Welcome back to Hour 2 of The Habit Influencer. I'm your host, TJ Walker. We are live. It is Tuesday, January 28th, 2020. Special hello to all of our friends, our first-time friends joining us from UpLive. Marcel, am I getting that right? Is it UpLive?
Yep, UpLive.
UpLive, a wonderful platform for live streaming. We've just started using that platform today, I guess, or yesterday, and already we have dozens and dozens of members of that community joining us. For those of you who've never been here before, don't know anything about me, this is a show specifically focused on helping individuals build better habits in their life, how to build positive, constructive habits to help you in your health, your life, your career, your finances, your personal relationships, your goals, your creativity. Everything important in your life, every goal you have, can really be isolated down to daily habits. If you want any set goal, whether physical goals, career goals, financial goals, if you isolate the daily habits you need to get you there, that is the battle. That's what we're all about. This is not just me lecturing to you for 2 straight hours. It's the conversation. It's really a community. And as much as I love so many of the great experts out there in the world on habits, James Clear, BJ Fogg, there's so many wonderful authors, experts, and bloggers out there. What I found lacking in my examination of the whole space over the last year is one place where you and I can just get together every day and have a conversation. Share with each other, answer questions. I can ask you questions, you can ask me questions. So that's what's different about this show. We're here every day, Monday through Friday, 1 to 3 p.m. Eastern Time. I'm based here in New York, and we have people from every time zone in the world and many, many countries of the world. So I know Sai is staying up late in India. Appreciate you being with us. Others of you, it's very early where you're based, or at least a lot earlier in the day if you're in Hawaii. So we're very happy wherever you are for being a part of this show. And in this show, typically I come to you with some prepared segments where I do sort of a deep dive on some aspect that relates to habits. I also look at top stories in the news, top blog posts. I try to survey every single blog out there that relates to habits so you don't have to, and save you time. And then we take your questions, comments as well. I'll be going into a deep dive, topic B, in a moment. But first, I wanted to draw some attention to a blog post that I like. This is from the simplicityhabit.com. Great little blog I've encountered and like to go to from time to time. And it has an article on the amazing benefits of decluttering your home. Here we are, January, and if you're like a lot of people, you may still have holiday wrappings. I know in my neighborhood there's some people who keep up their Christmas lights until July. It's very hard to get around to decluttering the inside and outside of your house. This is a subject near and dear to me, and I'll tell you why in a moment. But first, I wanted to summarize some of the findings in this blog post. Again, it's the amazing benefits of decluttering your home. Item 1, save money. Systematically decluttering your home causes you to face your past purchasing decisions. And when you really analyze, oh my gosh, I can't believe I wasted $90 on that air fryer and I used it once, it will make you less likely to waste that much money in the future, which, by the way, I'm guilty of that. I did waste, I think it was more money than that on an air fryer, and we used it a couple of times and just did not take off in the house. Benefit number 2, fewer decisions to make. Decision fatigue is real. Don't I know that? Don't you know that? When you walk into a closet or open a drawer that is jam-packed full of stuff, it's immediately overwhelming. So one of the real beauties of decluttering is you no longer have to choose between 100 dresses and the Imelda Marcos 2000 shoes. You have just the ones you like and need and use and enjoy. Very fewer decisions to make. That reduces time and energy, and most important, and this is item 3, less stress. Clutter causes stress. Studies have shown that it increases women's cortisol levels more dramatically than men's. When moms are stressed, it can carry over to other family members as well. When your stuff is there, there's mountains of stuff, mountains of junk, everyone's yelling at everyone else, clean up your stuff, clean up your room, it causes stress. So that's one of the great beauties of decluttering. Benefit number 4, less time spent cleaning. One of the amazing benefits of decluttering your home is it takes less time to clean your home. It makes sense. There's less stuff to move around. There's less stuff to clean. There's less stuff to dust. You still have to clean dishes and laundry, obviously, but there's so many other things that are easier to do. If you're dusting your furniture, you're not picking up 10 items on top of every piece of furniture. It's faster to clean counters. Everything is faster and easier. It's also easier to find stuff. If your house is filled with 10,000 items, it's obviously more difficult to find something than if your house has a few hundred items. At some point, it's pure mathematics. It's just much, much easier. The next benefit, easier to maintain your stuff. When you have just a few items that you really care about and you value, it's easier to maintain. If you have a closet with 100 suits, it's overwhelming. How are you even going to know if you've used one in the last few years? If you have, like I have a closet, relatively slim, only about 10 suits, but I really maintain those suits. In fact, I just took all of them to a tailor, had them reduced because I'd lost weight. It's easier for me to do that because I only have about 10, maybe fewer than that. And it just keeps it simpler and easier to maintain. Another benefit, fewer distractions. Your house is not full of stuff. There's fewer things to distract you, so you can focus on actually having fun with your family, mealtime. If you are enjoying a hobby, there's only one thing to look at. You can read a book without clutter staring at you everywhere. So these are some of the benefits of decluttering. Again, it's a great little website, thesimplicityhabit.com. I would recommend you check that out. And by the way, if you are interested in decluttering your house, I do recommend Marie Kondo's books on tidying up. And she's got a great Netflix series. She has several books. She's been influential to me. But if you want another approach, I happen to be aware of a course called Decluttering, the Complete Organizing Home Office Life course. This is a course I made myself, so without me sounding too cute, yes, this is one of the few times during the 2 hours each day where I am going to openly plug something. This is my course. I've got a discount to you. It's typically about $200. The link that you will see in the show notes, and Marceau, if you can repost that on the various social media, this will get you the course. This will get you the course for about 10 or $12. This is a very, very comprehensive, detailed, in-depth, multi-hour course to walk you through every room in your house and really get you to the point. It works for your office, your car, other aspects of your life too. But a systematic approach of decluttering your whole life, not just your home. One secret, you've heard me mention it before, and to me it's the bedrock secret. I just spend 20 seconds a day. I go around the house and I just don't stop until I find one thing I can throw away. And I think I've done a good job in the studio here, so I don't see anything, but I've already thrown something away earlier today. That's the key, because over time, your house might not be beautifully clean after a day or a week or a month, but hey, chances are you're going to be in your house for a while. 6 months from now, I promise you, if you threw one thing a day away or sold it or gave it away, your house will be so much better. You'll enjoy your space. You'll be more productive, happier. You'll be more relaxed. So check out the course. And by the way, as with all of my courses, there are a whole bunch of videos you can watch for free. And there's a money-back guarantee. So if you're not completely in love with it, you have recourse. It's a pretty risk-free involvement. Okay, we're going to take your calls, questions. You can call in through Facebook, and you can make it essentially a video call, record it, and we'll play it right here on the show. The easiest thing is just to type your comments. I'm happy to read them on air to everyone around the globe. You can also just send me an email, tj@tjwalker.com, and I'll share your thoughts with the rest of the community here too. But first, we're going to go to topic B. Are you failing enough to succeed in life? Now, at first blush, that sounds odd. Who wants to fail? So many of us, especially if you're closer to my generation than a 20-year-old, we're taught it's all about, can you get the A's? Can you not make mistakes? Get the A's, don't have errors, get into a good school, get into a good graduate school, become a lawyer, doctor, be perfect. That's the way to succeed. And in the modern world, that's just not the way to succeed. The people who succeed the most, in my view, are the ones who fail the most. Now, failure in and of itself, there's nothing worthy in it. But when you learn from your failure and you keep at it and you try something a little bit different, that's the sweet spot. Mark Zuckerberg's first internet venture didn't go very well. It was like, something like Hot or Not, and it was considered, got panned for a lot of reasons. Facebook was not his first thing. Most successful entrepreneurs, most successful creators failed massively at so many things. Most great writers failed. Stephen King had numerous novels rejected. J.K. Rowling's Harry Potter books rejected 11 times. Are you failing enough? The problem most people have in life is not that they don't have enough luck. It's not that they weren't connected. It's not that they didn't know the right people. Quite often, the biggest problem is you're just not failing enough. Now, I don't like failure, but I'm not afraid of failure because I know failure is an important step on the way to success. This morning at 7 a.m., I'd already failed massively. I had created a simple habits video, and I had posted it on TikTok, Pinterest, Snapchat, and LinkedIn, and Facebook, and a couple of other places. And before I realized it, it was up, and someone was saying, well, what do you mean? I looked at it, I had had a misspelling in the title. Didn't even make sense. I failed. But you know what? I didn't worry about it. I quickly deleted one, put the correct title in, and put it back up. A few other places nobody seemed to notice or care. And that video failed on several platforms. Hardly anyone watched it. But on the TikTok platform, more than 1,000 people watched it. I consider that a success. And that's one reason why I have a larger and larger audience than most people do. In my space, in my field of personal development, it's not because I'm better looking than anyone. It's not because I'm younger than anyone. It's because I'm not afraid to fail. I have thousands and thousands of videos on my YouTube channel. And if you go to YouTube and type in media training, for example, tens of millions of videos will come up. I'm number one. Hey, I succeeded. But how did I succeed? I succeeded because I failed at about 2,000 other videos I did just on media training. It's the failures that paved the way to that one that became a number one success. And very few people can just go right to number one. Yeah, it does happen occasionally in the movie world or the music world, but typically not. Justin Bieber had to make a lot of videos on YouTube where nobody thought he was very good before he got to the point where he is today, making millions of dollars from albums, or LPs, whatever you call it these days. Failure, lots and lots of experimentation, lots of failure is what it takes to be a true success in today's world. So I beg you, I urge you, look at ways to fail. If you go to an online platform called Udemy and you type in, for example, communication skills, you'll see hundreds and hundreds of courses on that topic, maybe more than 1,000. I'm number one. My course is number one. Now, I realize that sounds arrogant, sounds like I'm bragging. There is a point to this. Yes, that course is number one. How did I get that? I got to that point because of massive failure. I made 100 other courses on Udemy before I got to the point where I made any number one course. I failed basically 100 times. People like to talk about their bestsellers. I have a dozen bestsellers on the largest online course platform in the world, which sounds impressive until you realize I have more than 120 horrible sellers on the number one course platform in the world. That, I think, is the key to success in the modern world, is fail, try things, experiment. Now, this relates to what we talked about in topic A in today's program of experimenting. But in this case, I'm talking about with your career, with your creations, what you're making for the world, your intellectual product, your art, your music, whatever it is you create, you have to fail. You look at any great writer in the world, and typically they have one, two, sometimes half a dozen novels that were so awful, they were so ashamed of them, that when they became rich and famous, they went and bought them back. They didn't want anyone to see them because they were such failures. We live in a time when the biggest failure of all is simply not trying, not putting your creation out to the world, trying to play it safe, not creating something, avoiding criticism, is playing it safe. It's actually the most dangerous game you can ever play. Anytime you put something out there, you could fail. You'll certainly fail to someone. Earlier today, we had a troll come to our YouTube channel. And I didn't see it. Marceau told me about it during the break. We had a troll coming, I guess, writing all sorts of silly things that were not germane, and I guess of a sexual nature, which doesn't bother me. But it's certainly failure of a sort in that he wasn't engaged with the ideas I'm trying to put out here. Now, it takes a lot more than that to bother me because I used to host political talk shows. So I'm used to death threats and people screaming and cursing at me and telling me I'm old, fat, bald, ugly, stupid, all sorts of other things like that. So it takes a lot to get me bothered from your comments. But the point is, it's still a failure of sorts. I fail every single day, but my failures are what help me learn to help me create my successes. Every great inventor is like that. And I realize you might not think of yourself as the next Henry Ford. You may be a mid-level manager in a healthcare corporation, and you've got to just keep the paper flowing smoothly. And if you fail at something and send a document the wrong way, it could end up with someone getting the wrong drug and dying. I'm not asking you to try new things where people's lives are at stake. But I am asking you to try something. Let's say you are a very successful medical manager at a significant hospital in your community. That's great. But you may have always had a passion for poetry or rock music, and you just dabble on the side. Well, that's fine, but what's keeping you from making your own album and releasing it to the world and putting it on SoundCloud and just sharing it with the world? You don't have to get rich for it to be a success. Just sharing your music with the world can be fun. And if most people hate it, but some people love it, guess what? The same could be said of some of the most successful singers, performers in the world. Some people hate Bob Dylan's voice, but a lot of people love his message and love his lyrics and love what he's about. You can't appeal to everyone. And what's so exciting about the world we're in right now is you can create a new product, a blog, a video, a podcast, and it can fail to connect with 99.99999% of the world if 0.0001%, if I added it up correctly, if they love you, nothing else matters. You won't fail. Now, sometimes it's possible to try something, and it just connects with no one. It just doesn't work. And you have to say, all right, I failed. Let me retreat. Seth Godin has a whole book about this, the dip. Sometimes you don't want to just keep going. You stop, regroup, learn, and try something new. 4 or 5 years ago, I did a daily podcast just about communication, public speaking and media training. And I didn't fail to get 99.99999% of the world interested in my podcast. I basically failed in getting 100% of people. No one was interested in that podcast. So I had to stop, assess, learn from it. So when I started this daily show, I asked myself, what lessons did I really learn from that? How did I learn? How did I get better? And what I concluded was I had to have a broader subject matter. Most people in the world are not interested in just communication. But a much broader percentage of people are interested in personal development, some habits for things like how to build wealth, how to build their career, how to be more creative, how to live healthier, happier life. That's a much broader topic. And therefore, there's the potential for it being successful. And that's why this show is succeeding. I've had more feedback, comments, emails, responses, and really the first 2 days of this show than in a year of podcasts 5 years ago on communication. But if I hadn't done that show, maybe I wouldn't have started this one. So my big challenge to you is, are you failing enough? Are you too complacent? Let's say your whole life was about getting good grades in high school, college, law school. Now you're at the big firm. Now what? Are you really happy just plugging in the billable hour? And if you are, great, wonderful. And maybe you use your wealth to just spend time having fun with family and friends. But if there's something else you want, maybe you always wanted to be a disc jockey, but you think, now I'm a corporate executive, I can't do that. Well, no, the rules are different now. The CEO of Goldman Sachs by day makes dozens, if not hundreds of millions of dollars a year, but by night, he's a DJ. And he has a whole different name, a whole new persona. Was there a chance people would laugh at him and say, you can't do that, you're a banker? Sure. He doesn't worry if he fails with some. He does what he wants. Now, we can debate a different time about whether Goldman Sachs does what it wants in other areas that aren't good for the world. That's a different debate. But I admire him for not letting anyone put him in a box and not being afraid to try new things outside of his so-called profession. Try new things, fail. Fail frequently, but if you learn from your failures, you ultimately reach higher levels of success. I'm TJ Walker, and I wish you a lot of failure. Now, I also wish you success too, but I do want you to try things. Share with me, what is the last thing you tried and you failed? I've been open with you. I try to be transparent. I try not to be icky or gross, but I try to be as transparent as possible in this program so we can all learn. I don't have all the answers, but there's some things I've failed at and learned some answers that I share with you, ideally to help you save time. But what's been your biggest failure? Feel free to share it with us. And let's figure out how can we use that failure to position yourself for a higher level of success in the future. Let's check in with some of our comments. Peggy has joined us today. I have a question about my online course I'm working on the present time. I don't know anything about editing. Should I outsource, or will a whole course be too expensive? Well, Peggy, I'm going to give you a contrarian opinion. Peggy is one of our regulars here on the show. She's also a student of mine, I believe, on the Udemy platform. Now, when you go to Udemy, the vast majority of courses are highly edited. Sometimes there's music behind them, there's graphics, there's images. Here's a little secret that nobody on Udemy will ever tell you, but I will. And I do say it in my own online course on how to do an online course. You don't actually have to edit your courses on Udemy. Let me say that again, because some of you are doing this. If you are making an online video-based course for your own platform, for any platform in the world, because you want to share your expertise, you do not have to edit your course. I know it sounds crazy, but I did more than 100 courses on different online platforms before I ever did a single course where I had editing. And truthfully, now that I do edit a lot of my courses and have B-roll and sound effects and music, my ratings aren't any higher. I was able to have a dozen best-selling courses on Udemy without editing a single video. Here's what I did, and I'll just show you. Let me grab my remote control, because I am in my studio in my home on the first floor. I have a remote control. Now today I'm working with Marceau. We have a little fancier production facility and equipment and feeds, live streams. He's in another city. But when I am making my videos for online courses, I simply look at the camera, I take my remote control and I put my hand out here and I hit the button play, and then I simply talk. And I say what I want to say as a lesson where I focus on one topic, Peggy. That's all I do, just one item. I could speak for 30 seconds. I might speak for 5 minutes. It's typically 2 or 3 minutes in depth on one item. And as soon as I'm done, I put my arm out and I hit the record button, which turns it off. I do it in one take. I do it in one take. Because people often ask me, TJ, how can you have such long courses? Your courses are so in-depth. You have 25 hours. It's because I do everything in one take. There are plenty of people, some of them successful, who make online video-based courses, and they do 20 takes, or they try to memorize, or they use a teleprompter, they try to turn it into a full-length movie production, and they do all kinds of editing, and it's a 6-month process. The problem with that is you might make $1,000 a month on your course, but if you spent $50,000 making the course, you'll be dead before you ever get in the black. So that's just a horrible thing. I try to do my courses spending almost nothing out of pocket. There's some infrastructure cost, a studio, a camera, and all that. But it just takes all the fun out of it, I find, if you're going into a lot of debt, creating something, and you're creating a hurdle that you can't get over. You may create a great course that's wonderful for kicking off an extra $500 a month that could pay for you and your family to go out to dinner several times. In some countries, it pays for a lot more than that. But if you spent so much on fancy, slick editing and graphics where you need at least $1,000 a month to come in, it takes all the fun away. I know plenty of people who spend a lot of money editing their videos and making everything look really polished, but they didn't promote their courses and launch them properly, and they sold zero. I do not want that to happen to you, Peggy. I don't want you to lose money on your course. I want you to build the habit of making money from your online courses, because I can tell you from personal experiences, I've been on both sides, it's a lot more fun to make money from an online course than it is to lose, and I've lost plenty. So you want it to look good, but remember, when someone is buying an online course, they want your expertise. Unless you're doing a course on video production skills and editing skills, they want to be able to see you clearly, hear you clearly, get your expertise. Now, you can give books, you can give handouts, but I have noticed that online students do not seem to reward instructors and courses just because they have a lot of images and graphics and music and slick sound effects and special effects. It's just not the environment. If you're making a science fiction movie, you're trying to be the next Star Wars and be in 2,000 multiplex theaters, yes, you've got to spend a fortune on special effects. If you're trying to compete with Pixar to make a kid's movie that's going to be in every single multiplex and theater around the globe at the same time, and you're spending $300 million to make the movie and you hope to make $1 billion, well, yes, you better have great editing. But an online course is a different beast. So one suggestion I would give to you is try to make things stand on their own so it doesn't require editing. The second thing, if you're going to make a lot of courses, it wouldn't hurt to learn simple editing yourself. The third thing is there are a lot of great editors around the world who are happy to do this sort of project very inexpensively. And as much as I am an American citizen, you're going to find your best deals outside of America with talented video editors in other countries, whether it's the Philippines, whether it's Greece. I've used editors all over the place. And also, Peggy, if you just exchange information with Marceau. Marceau is in touch with a huge array of people who are in video editing at various prices, and he could be a resource for you as well on that. So, Peggy, reach out to Marceau, and I think you see him there on the Facebook page, and I think he can be a real resource for you. We try to do this on this show. I mean, this show is not about promotion and sales, and I'm not throwing affiliate deals at you and things like that. But if we can bring people together to help them, I do believe that one of the best habits in the world is creating. And I do believe that one of the best habits in the world is increasing your financial situation to take care of your family, your own needs, and to do the things you need to do to foster your own creativity. You want to buy books, you got to make money. So if we can help you build habits to be more productive, to make online courses, books, get your art in a gallery, I'm more than happy to do that. I'm TJ Walker. We're going to take a just very brief 30-second break. We're headed into the final half hour of the program. But Marceau, if we can cue up our new break, and we'll be back in just about 30 seconds or so. I'm TJ Walker. Thanks for watching The Habit Influencer. Back in a moment. For the last few years, you may have heard a lot about one specific habit that many people swear by to make them healthier, leaner, a great diet, and the whole concept is 5 meals a day. And the idea is your body never gets so hungry, so you never gorge. It feeds your body in ways that are more natural to how your body uses energy. Your body uses energy all the time. It doesn't use energy at 3 set times a day. So by feeding yourself, you're keeping your body better regulated with energy needs, and you're less likely to gorge. You're less likely to overeat because you never get to the point where you're just starving to death. And there are a lot of health experts who swear by this, a lot of celebrities who talk about it. I saw a celebrity profile of Reese Witherspoon recently talking about this. A lot of other Hollywood celebrities swear by it. And I do think that if all things being equal, it probably is healthier to have as a habit eating 5 small meals a day. But here's the problem. All things are not equal. All things are never equal. Anytime you're looking to build a habit, to change a habit, to acquire a habit, to make yourself better, you have to look at a number of things. the context, the cost, the social environment, the ease of use, the complexity, and the sustainability. And when I judge the 5 meals a day program on those standards, I have to give it an F minus. If you eat 5 meals a day and it works for you and you feel that it helps you get to a healthier point in your life and you're at your proper weight, I'd love to hear from you. Share with us your insights. But here's the problem I see with a 5 meal a day plan. Again, I'm not disputing the medical side of it. I'm sure it is healthier for you. But there's some big problems with the idea of eating 5 meals a day. For starters, there are about 7 billion people on the planet who are all on a 3 meals a day plan. So you're trying to go against the current of what the rest of the world is doing. And hey, I'm a free spirit, and Walden's great, and it's fine to go against the current sometimes, okay? But if you're going to a friend's great birthday party celebration and you're at a fancy Italian restaurant and everyone is having a nice, beautiful lasagna put in front of them, and it's the portion size of a meal for people who eat 3 meals a day, and a dessert comes, and a cake comes, and great bread comes, and appetizers come, you now have to show superhuman willpower and discipline and motivation to eat basically half of what anyone else is eating. Do you have that? And if you have that much motivation, willpower, and discipline, why do you need a special diet in the first place? You should already be at your perfect weight. So that's the problem, is you're constantly going against what everyone. If you go out to friends with lunch and everyone's having a nice lunch and you order an entree, it's very hard to go to the restaurant and say, I want an entree, and it needs to be 2/3 of a normal size entree. Of course you can order an appetizer, and I order appetizers sometimes, and I like to split entrees with my wife if I'm out for dinner, because restaurants give portions too big anyway. But it becomes compoundedly more difficult if you're trying to eat 1/5 of your day's food requirements when everyone else is eating 1/3. Yeah, it's a whole separate issue in that in many countries, especially the United States, people are eating 200% as many calories as they need in a typical day. But by eating 5 meals a day, you can unfortunately open yourself up to even more temptation, more food opportunities. And you're constantly in a situation where you have to tell people no, whether it's a party, out to dinner, a dinner party. It's always going to be no. If you had that discipline, wonderful. But if you had that discipline, you'd probably be at your perfect weight anyway. Anytime I'm looking for a new habit to help me in life, especially if it's a health habit, one of the things I just ask myself is, if I go to a retirement center, if I go to a place, whether it's in Florida or any place else, and I see a whole bunch of healthy, active, 90, 95-year-old people, and they're walking, swimming on the beach, playing with grandkids, active life, what are the chances I'm going to see that they follow that health practice? I can tell you, I've never met anyone like that who's proper weight, 95 years old, vigorous, and I say, what's the secret? They never say, oh, well, TJ, I have a milkshake meal replacement once or twice a day. I've never heard that. I've never seen that. That's why I don't believe in shake replay. It's not sustainable. I've never heard anyone in a senior citizen home who's healthy, fit, trim, active say, oh, it's because I eat 5 meals a day. Now, they might eat healthy snacks. I'm not saying it's impossible to have a healthy snack, but really thinking of their life in terms of I eat 5 meals a day, it's just not something I see people actually sustaining for decades. So one of my tests for any health practice is it sustainable? Because you can look at any diet in the world. You can eat a diet of M&Ms. If you only eat 2 M&Ms a day, you will lose weight. I guarantee it. But nobody in the world can go on a diet for more than a week if you only eat 2 M&Ms a day. You'll go insane or you'll die or something. But yeah, you will lose weight those first 6 days. And that's what's true about Atkins and keto and this no carb and paleo, all of these things. You will lose weight on all of them. But they're not sustainable. Why bother starting something, losing weight, getting your hopes up, if you can't sustain it, and then you put all that weight on? And typically, data show, with most diets like that, you gain more weight. You end up with more than where you started. Why would you want to set yourself up for failure? That is a poor habit, to start something you know isn't going to work. So that is my big concern and problem with the 5-meal-a-day approach. I think it was Kate Hudson in a recent profile also said she did that. And it's one thing if you are a celebrity in a bubble and you have your own personal chef surrounding you and traveling with you, and you're in this bubble at all times, it might be a little easier. But even then, you're at the Vanity Fair party, you're at all these great parties, every kind of caviar and lobster out, but you've already had your 4th meal of the day. Now you got to say no to the caviar and lobster. If you can do that, you have more discipline than I do. But if you had that much discipline, why do you need a special diet anyway? To me, it gets back to fundamentals. Far more important to figure out, how can you just not eat second helpings? How can you mostly eat unprocessed plants? Things like vegetables and fruit. How can you do everything you can to minimize processed sugar? If you minimize processed sugar, if you minimize processed foods that comes in boxes and bags and packages with every kind of chemical and ingredients list that long, and you mostly eat vegetables and salads and small amounts of meat or fish, and you eat and drink things that don't have a lot of sugar in it, chances are you're going to be in great health. Chances are you'll probably weigh what you should, and you don't have to go for these gimmicks of 5 meals a day. I'm TJ Walker, and that was topic C for the day. If you have a lot of luck and experience and good feelings with 5 meals a day, I'm open. I've certainly read about it in a great deal in celebrity stories, profiles. You hear about it in blogs. I can't say that I've ever really talked to a real human being who had luck with it. But if you want to share your feelings on that, then I'm happy to hear from you. And we are coming up on the close of the hour 2 today in the program. So if we don't get to your question or comment today, feel free to email me, tj@tjwalker.com, and we'll share your comments or your questions on tomorrow's show. We do have some time, so if you want to share with us your comments today on the live stream platform, on live TV, on YouTube, on Facebook, on Instagram, on TikTok. We're now on more than a dozen platforms, and very much happy to have your input and your suggestions. Let's check in with the live chat on Instagram. Ali writes in and says, hello, thanks for joining us. Arej joins. Sai has also joined us on Instagram, and we have friends joining us from all kinds of platforms all over the world. One of my earlier segments today talked about failure. You need to fail. And part of what we're doing in this whole experiment, Marceau, my producer, and I, is we're actively failing every day. We're trying to add more and more platforms all the time for this show. And sometimes there's a technical glitch. We can't get it on. Our good friends on TikTok sort of saw our failures the first 3 weeks of the show. We couldn't figure out how to connect the video camera that I'm staring in into the feed in TikTok. But we didn't just give up. Instead, what we did is we just connected on my cell phone. And I occasionally had to look down at my cell phone to talk to our friends on TikTok. Was it perfect? No, but we still had dozens and dozens of people every day watching on TikTok, even though they had to kind of look at a weird angle like this. It was kind of weird, but now they've joined us there. So we're continuing to experiment, continuing to try to build the habit of not being perfect, but the habit of just trying a little bit more every day. You may have noticed one day we'll add a new graphic. We didn't have this clicker at the bottom you're seeing now where it says Pinterest at TJ Walker. We didn't have that at first. We've added that. We didn't have this backdrop at first. We've added that. We didn't have the music behind. We've added that. We didn't have all the different distribution channels. We have those now. So we're trying every day. Some of these are going to be failures. Some of these are just not going to work at all, but I listen to you. And that's how you improve. That's how you make it better. And that's what I believe is it's really the number one key to success. Not being afraid to fail, but learning from every single failure. Always trying to make things a little bit better, a little bit smoother. If you listen to some people fail. I have a friend, good guy, serial entrepreneur, but he's been failing every single business he started. He's had startups for 30 years, went to a prestigious business school, and he's had startup after startup after startup. Every one of them fails. That's not what I'm talking about. He's not learning from his mistakes. He's committing exactly the same mistakes every single time. That's not what we're after. We have a little time left. I want to share with you from one of my favorite websites, Thrive Global. This is something that Arianna Huffington, the founder of the Huffington Post, started after she left the Huffington Post. I guess it was a spin-off. And this is an article that grabbed my attention. 9 habits to drop right now if you desire success. And this piggybacks on some of the other things we've been speaking about today regarding habits. Here's habit 1, all talk and little action. It's so easy to fill up with excitement. You're so creative with a crammed head with ideas. The first thing you want to do is tell the world. And that's unfortunately where people stop. Now, about 3 months ago, I started telling friends and family and others that I'm going to start doing a live daily talk show all about personal development issues and habits. But I didn't just talk about it. I had to work every single day. I had to find Marceau. I had to buy new equipment. I had to fail at things. In fact, probably shouldn't tell you this. We bought a $1,000 microphone because we were going to use it in my upstairs in this actual living room. Then we decided to go back to the studio. I didn't use it. I've got a $1,000 microphone I've used once. Failure. But the point is, it wasn't all talk. I took action, even though a lot of it failed. Item number 2 on 9 habits to drop right now. Letting fear dominate. In many respects, you can say that the survival of the human race is down to our instinct for fear. It's what kept us on our toes, hunting. It's what keeps you alive, but it also creates paralysis. If you are afraid of other people dominating, I could have easily said, wow, I better not enter this space when it comes to habits. Charles Duhigg of the New York Times, James Clear, these guys are big shots. They're dominating. Professor Wood out in California has a great new book. BJ Fogg, very experienced, dominating people in the space of habits. I better not try. I could have let fear keep me out, but I didn't. Item number 3, getting distracted. Setting goals means there's always much to action. You create a plan and a to-do list. Any goals that lead to a more fulfilling and abundant life will stretch goals. Unfortunately, these days, you can just get lost for weeks just on Facebook. Forget Snapchat, Instagram, Pinterest, everything else, friends, family, obligations, text. It's never been easier in the history of the world to be distracted got something big you want to do and you really want to be successful, you can't let yourself be distracted. Next item, surrounding yourself with the wrong people. Being around the wrong people will hamper your progress. If you want to get fit, but are surrounded by people who love their couch, it's going to be hard for you to break away and push yourself to be active. You want to get fit, you're going to have to hang out with people who like to walk, run, play sports, and go to the gym. If you want to be a high-tech entrepreneur, if all of your friends just want to complain about their low-level government job and talk about pensions, you're not going to be a successful entrepreneur. And I say that as someone who's an entrepreneur. I've also worked in government positions before. I've worked in state governments, federal government. I'm not bashing government. But there are some people, whether it's government, whether it's working for a big insurance company in the bowels of bureaucracy, there are people in the world who just want to punch a clock, show up at 9, leave at 5, and not think for a second about building a business. Nothing wrong with that. But if you want to be a successful entrepreneur, you can't surround yourself with people who have that mindset. Next item that will get you into trouble, bad habits. Believing your current skills and experience is enough. Yes, you are enough, but if you want to grow, develop, and achieve more success, then you need to be constantly working in improving your own skills. Lifelong learning. You've heard it from me. It's a keystone habit. You've got to keep learning. Now, Mark Zuckerberg gets a lot of criticism as CEO of Facebook, much of it deserved. I'm not here as an apologist for Mark Zuckerberg, but I have to tell you, I personally am very impressed by the fact that a guy that busy, that successful, that wealthy, spent so much of his time learning to become fluent in Chinese. His wife is Chinese. He somehow, this is several years ago, devoted an hour a day learning Chinese and became fluent and can actually give some speeches in Chinese. I have a tremendous respect for that because I should learn Chinese. My wife is Chinese and I haven't learned it yet. I have tremendous respect for someone like Michael Bloomberg, who isn't as wealthy as Mark Zuckerberg, but is the 11th richest person in the entire world with a net worth of more than $60 billion. He was the mayor of New York City, pretty busy full-time job, and he took the time to get tutored on a regular basis on how to become fluent in Spanish because he thought it would help him be a better public official. Now, I realize he's running for president. I'm not endorsing anyone for president. That's not what this is about. But it shows how really, really successful billionaires are always pushing themselves. They're pushing their skills to learn new things. And those were simply the first two that came to mind. Next habit that will get you into trouble, adapting a negative mindset. We all have a choice on how we decide to view the world. We can choose to see the good or opt for the bad. If you have a negative mindset, you can't be successful because you can't try something new. If you're creating something new, a new business, a new book, a new software program, you have to have not a rose-colored glasses, delusional positive view, but you have to have a clear-cut positive vision of what could be. Because if you don't even see the potential for what can be good, it's too hard to start. It's irrational to start. If you think it's likely to fail, why would you start a new business, a new painting, a new song, a new album? It would make no sense. So you have to have the habit of having a positive outlook. The next habit that gets people into trouble, keeps them from succeeding, giving up too soon. I see this all the time. People say, oh, TJ, looks like you're making a lot of online courses. Looks easy, I'll do that. They make one course, don't promote it at all, don't talk about it, don't share it, they put it up, and they make $0, and then they conclude, this online course stuff, waste of time, waste of money, doesn't work. No, you just gave up too soon. You didn't try, you didn't work. People do this with social media, with YouTube channels, podcasts. The average podcast goes dark after 3 episodes. Nobody's a success after 3 episodes in the podcast world. It takes time. Gary Vaynerchuk famously said nobody paid any attention to his wine library show for 6 months. Daily shows, it takes a long time to get attention. The That's why I like to listen to you. This is a show. It's not just me. It's about you. We are all habit influencers here. I'm a habit influencer. I'm trying to influence my own habits, but I'm trying to help you influence your own habits so you can have the best habits to live a healthy, successful, and happy life. That's why we're here. I'm TJ Walker. I'd like to thank you for spending the last couple of hours with me. It's been a fun time, a fun show. As always, you get suggestions, complaints, criticisms, praise, other questions. Post right here on the comments wherever you are. Also, you can go right to my Facebook page and make a permanent post there, or email me, tj@tjwalker.com. Thanks again for watching. I'll see you here tomorrow and every weekday, Monday through Friday, 1 to 3, on your favorite social media platform, whether it's Ustream, Livestream, Facebook, YouTube. We're happy to have you. Thanks a lot. See you tomorrow.
This is a Chucky Beat production.